but that 88 is pulling away.
Earnhardt, Johnson, Menard, Blaney, third-generation star, Dale Earnhardt Jr. brings him to the flag. Checkered flag, waving, it's over. It's Earnhardt. Earnhardt trying to cover all spots.
Oh, yeah! Good job, Junebug.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Checkered flag at Talladega.
Why is this one so much fun? Because your grin told so many stories on your cool-down lap.
It's just real emotional. I haven't won here in a long time. It was my daddy's birthday a couple days ago. Just real emotional, man.
My nerd world.
And welcome to it. Now, I don't consider, even though it falls into the realm of I was within the finish of what Dale Jr. did finish last week at Bristol. I don't really put that in as a good prediction, simply because, if I'm not within, 2 or 3 positions, then I'm wrong. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his runner-up finish at Bristol last week kind of put me out of that. I think I had it at, top 10, because I was really concerned going into the race. Not as concerned as I was on that opening lap, and we will get to that. Welcome to the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Race Preview Podcast for My Nerd World. I am your host, John Justice, and we're going to talk a little bit about Bristol last week. We have a lot of paint scheme and merchandise news, largely centered around the fact that Dale Jr. is running a Mountain Dew paint scheme for a special promotion with himself, Casey Kane, and Chase Elliott at Richmond, Virginia this weekend. He's doing double duty, and while most of you will be listening to this probably after the Xfinity race, we will talk a little bit about that. The green flag on that at the time of me recording this drops in about an hour from now. So this will actually be going up right as that race gets underway. But I'm excited for the weekend. This is the most excited I've been for a weekend with Dale Jr. In a long time. I mean, I'm excited for every race weekend, but not only is he doing double duty again, racing in the Xfinity race today, this, of course, is part of the Hellman's Mayonnaise Dale Jr. Sandwich.com promotion that he's been doing. I actually had myself a mayo and banana sandwich this morning for breakfast. But also this Mountain Dew promotion they have going on Sunday. But the car is really, really good for the Xfinity race today. So I actually think there's a good chance at a win for Dale Jr. in one of his own cars, and he hasn't done that yet. He hasn't won in one of his own Junior Motorsports cars yet. So that would be really cool to see. And given the fact that these races are being run at essentially the same time, and we had these heat races for this Dash for the Cash. We have these 2 heat races leading into the main event today. Dale Jr. is going to get a lot of seat time leading into Sunday, and I really think this is going to benefit him. So I'm really excited for the race this weekend. Now, just briefly, let's go back and talk about Bristol. And man, that is so, if it's going to happen, then it needs to happen the way that it happened last week. But with Dale Jr., for those that don't know, essentially there is an emergency mechanism, at least this is my understanding of it. He explained it, Dale Jr. explained it on the Dirty Mo Radio podcast earlier in the week, and then TJ Majors on their Door Bumper Clear podcast also explained it, that essentially there's if the throttle gets stuck, there's a way that you can cut the engine by mashing down the brake, but it's got to be a brake and gas combo deal. You can have a kill switch on the steering wheel, but Dale Jr. doesn't like that because he gets too afraid that he's going to hit that kill switch in the middle of a race. And so he goes with this brake gas combo and a mashing of one combined with the other that basically shuts the motor down. And that's what happened at the start of the race. He didn't realize that he had essentially activated that mechanism, and so when we went green, he stalled. He said in retrospect he could have fixed it on the track. They pulled him immediately down to pit road. He didn't realize what he had done. So had he known that's what had happened, he could have rolled, stand on the lead lap, got the car going again, and wouldn't have gone 2 laps down. But because of the fact that he wasn't aware, they ended up drawing him into pit road, and he ended up going 2 laps down. Now, I'll tell you, and as I've mentioned before, I mean, that's when the dynamics as a fan in terms of what are you hoping to get out of this race changes. Okay, so now it's, all right, we're not fighting for a lead. Let's spend half the race, if not more, fighting to get back on the lead lap, and then we'll see where we can get the best finish. In no way, shape, or form did I think, well, let me take that back. I figured if he could get back on the lead lap, the car seemed pretty good, that he would have an opportunity at a decent finish. I didn't think a win, but certainly something within the realm of a top 10. And he drove the wheels off that thing. I mean, he was really, really aggressive. Going into the race, and the reason why the car ended up looking like it was so off, which is what I talked about a lot last week, which is what had me concerned for Bristol. They were trying a different package. They were trying a different race package than what they have run there in the past. And I thought personally that we only found out about this in retrospect. Dale Jr. said that they tried a different race package. They were seeing if they could hit upon something, maybe find an edge that people didn't have, and you have to do this. And so that's why the car wasn't as fast as they had hoped for. And I was kind of scratching my head going, wow, that just seems really early in the season, and maybe that's the reason why. It seemed really early in the season to be experimenting with untested race packages when they haven't locked down a win yet and aren't in the chase. And, he's doing well in the points. If you give Dale Jr. a win, I think he's in the top 5 in points. Without that win, he's down there in 6th or 7th, I guess. So, perhaps they're confident enough with a race like Talladega on the horizon and, Daytona in a couple of months, given those restrictor plate races. I don't like thinking that we need to bank on restrictor plates for Dale Jr. to get his win to get into the chase. And we've also seen that you don't have to have a win going into the chase necessarily. And certainly with the number of repeat winners we've had already this year, I think there's a good chance that a handful of people at the bottom of that top 16 going into the chase are going to be able to make it into the chase without a win. But, Dale Jr. wants to get a win. I think all of his fans want him to get a win. I'd much rather see that obviously happen than to go into the chase without a victory. So I just felt it was odd that they decided to use, Bristol as sort of a test bed for this particular package. But again, if the team, I guess, is confident enough to try some new things, then, who am I to, I'm just being a sofa crew chief, that is all. But that's why Dale Jr. wasn't quite as fast as he normally is. And at the end of the race, really the only reason why he ended up being able to get that second place finish was because, thankfully, for once, with all those restarts at the end, he was able to restart on the outside line. And for those that are Dale Jr. fans and watch him as closely as I do, that normally in a circumstance like that, at least it seems that way. We always remember the negative more than we do the positive, right? But normally it seems as if when Dale Jr.'s in a circumstance like that, he ends up getting screwed and has to keep restarting on the inside line or whatever the slower line is at the track. And thankfully for Bristol, things ended up going his way, and he was able to lock down that second place finish. It was clear there was no way he was going to be able to catch Carl Edwards. I mean, maybe on the restart, if he were able to have pinned Carl Edwards down, or he had gotten a bad restart and he could have edged by him and the car could have gotten in clean air, perhaps there was an opportunity he could have held him off. But Carl, really, his car was the class of the field. I'll say this, though. That felt like a victory just for how hard he fought in those closing laps. That was some of the that was like the raciest I'd seen Dale Jr. so far this year. If you were watching those closing laps and his battle on those last 2 or 3 laps with Kurt Busch, that was really intense, great stuff. And it's funny, too, because I often wonder, I know Dale Jr. always drives hard, and this is certainly not a dig on him whatsoever, but even the guys on the podcast this week were talking about how hard he was driving, trying to get back on the lead lap, and you kind of scratch your head and go, well, he's driving hard that whole race, right? I think the difference is that when he's trying to get back on the lead lap, he's pushing his car to the edge the whole race as opposed to saving his stuff, which Dale Jr. is really known to do. He's gotten a lot better over the years at saving the car. So, look, it was great to walk out of there with the second place finish. I think it's the momentum the team needed, even though it was a little bit of an oddball one, and I think Dale Jr. and the rest of the team would admit that the car wasn't as fast as it should have been. But you can't argue with, these second place finishes and what that's going to do for the confidence of this team. And again, that's why I'm excited going into this weekend, because Dale Jr.'s Xfinity car is really, really fast, again. And if he can learn something today, driving at roughly the same time of day, and apply that to tomorrow, much in the same way he did at Texas, I think we got a real shot. Even though the car, when they got it off the truck, wasn't all that fast, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, I want to shift. I'm going to shift gears and talk a little bit about the merchandise, because we got a lot of new items available. Let me go here first. This week, 3 different Dale Earnhardt Jr. Paint schemes were, well, actually, over the course of the past 2 weeks, we've had 3 different paint schemes that have been unveiled. As we talked about last week, the 88 Nationwide Insurance Great Ghost Chevy SS for Darlington. Also, this week, the 88 Axalta CarStar Chevrolet for Kansas. That paint scheme is essentially the same Axalta paint scheme as we've seen already, the one that looks like a big stick, except on the back quarter panel, it's got in white a big CarStar logo on it. So it really isn't all that different. And I've got a bit of a complaint on that, I'll tell you in just a little bit. And then this weekend, of course, they unveiled the 88 Mountain Dew Decision Chevrolet for the promotion of where you can go online and choose whether you want the Baja flavored Mountain Dew or the pitch black Mountain Dew. And so you've got Chase Elliott in sort of a light blue for the Baja flavor, and then you've got Casey Kane in the pitch black paint scheme, and then Dale Jr. has a green and black paint scheme and is promoting both as sort of the Decision car. They're good-looking cars. It's a neat promotion, and I always find it's kind of cool when you have cars that are matching. It's not all that dissimilar from what Dale Jr. did with Jimmy Johnson with the Batman versus Superman promotion a couple of weeks ago. It's pretty obvious this isn't a paint scheme that Dale Jr. designed, and we all know how much Dale Jr. likes to have input in his paint schemes. So, you wonder, and I haven't heard any interviews with him, and this is obviously a really, really minor point, but you wonder if there's any level of disappointment where it's a good-looking car, but it's just, all the cars look the same. They're set up just in terms of different colors. They all have a similar paint scheme. So you wonder how much he likes it, and given the fact that he really seems this year to be zeroing in on paint schemes that mean something to him. And I remember in the Shifting Gears show that came out, and I have the DVDs for him. This was the one that documented when he switched over to Hendrick Motorsports. He talked about how much he cared about getting up to a car and getting into a car that he really enjoyed and liked. So, Dale Jr.'s enough of a pro where he can get into a car, even if he doesn't like the paint scheme, he's going to do just fine. But I find it interesting because I know how much he likes to have personalized paint schemes. So the car looks good. It's an interesting promotion. There is a lot of gear available at the website. I'll tell you what gear is there, and I have a complaint on that as well. But let me go back to the Axalta paint scheme for just a moment. I like that paint scheme. I like the fact that Dale Jr. has a red paint scheme that he can run. It just reminds me back when he was running the red number 8 Budweiser car, and that's when I started, when I first became a fan, when he was running that very distinct red Budweiser number 8 car. And so to have him in a red paint scheme and having some red gear is pretty cool. If we had some red gear, and this is the point that I want to get to, I do have an Axalta red hat that I purchased at Phoenix that I like quite a bit. But the T-shirts for the Axalta paint scheme have been kind of disappointing. There's one black one that I ordered at the beginning of the season for the Exalta paint scheme. And it was funny when I got it home and I